writing is impacting all these people, and I don't even know how I feel about that. So, you know, so on and so forth. I took one class at Berkeley. I didn't graduate from there. I graduated from somewhere else, but just to see if I really can write. So the professor was really good. He would use these dice, you know, and if number 5 came up, he'd say, okay, now write dialogue. Okay, now write, you know, scene. Oh, okay, now write, you know, internal thought. And then he asked us to read, you know, what we wrote. And I wrote about a man and a woman in a very kind of intense relationship, the dialogue, this and that. And then all of a sudden after I read it, it was dead silence. I'm like, shit, I suck. You know? So I didn't know what to think. Then after the class, you know, he said, can you come over here for a minute? I said, sure. And then he started confessing his extramarital affairs to me and how this made him feel. And I'm like, holy cow. So from that I said, maybe I really can't write. So I divorced my last husband because he didn't see the point of why I want to write. And I said to him, this is who I am. You know, it's like, why do you breathe? So anyway, and this is the point where I met Paul. When I didn't have the kids for the weekend, and this is, we're talking about dial-up internet, you know, I would plug my laptop and go to the backyard patio, and I would just write randomly. I don't know, about anything. And after about a few months of doing this, I looked back and I thought, oh, I wrote a novel. But it went through so much because at that point, you know, I didn't know what word processing was. I was old school. I learned how to type in junior high and hit the space bar after every sentence, and it was a bitch to format it. But okay, I finished it. Thank you, Paul Dale Roberts, because I would run into you at Borders, and you would say, just keep on trucking, girl, just keep on trucking. And that really, you know, I didn't know any writers. I read voraciously, but I didn't know anybody else who wrote besides Paul. And so finally I said, Paul, I'm done. You know, so, all right. I had it formatted as an ebook. I even bought a program that would, you know, so you can buy it off the internet. And it was that for many years. And finally, I retired and I said, it's time. It's time. So I self-published, and that was a journey in itself. Self-publishing was not a thing. So I had to go bare knuckles. I set up my own publishing company and found a printer, and then oddly enough, my ex-husband has done many books, so he helped me format it for, you know, print camera ready. Okay, and this is the result. This is the whippoorwill. And since I was a teacher, you know, I could not write under my own name because my students, you know, this is a very naughty book. I could not let my students, so I had to have a pseudonym. By the way, this is one of my paintings. So it's kind of like everything from nuts to bolts. And so I published it, and my friend said, gee, many crickets, where did that come from? I said, I have no idea. And you know, I found out recently that it's music that moves me. When I wrote this book, I was listening to Andrea Bocelli's Sonia album. I don't know why, but it was so dramatic, and I would just listen to it and write, and listen to it and write. And, you know, I'm proud of this, and thank you, Paul, for teaching me how to put it so that it's in the Library of Congress. I have other books that I need to put in there. This was a very different process, you know, because I wasn't writing a specific anything. I didn't have a plot. I didn't have an outline, nothing. I was just, you know, it seems like, I try to explain this to people, but when I'm writing, this sort of other human being, you know, takes over, and after I write, I'm go, oh, where did that come from? For example, there's a part of this book where then again, my latest novel, which was only a couple years ago, this is during the pandemic, I was listening to Ray Charles as I was vacuuming, and you know, that song, you give your hand to me, and then you say hello. I know you've all heard that song. But then, so I felt the pain of unrequited love, and I'm like, oh my God, that hurts. So, this is the result.
Whoa.
One dance. In 2.5 weeks, I finished a 400-page novel.
Wow.
I would just write, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a day. And I would get together with my friends. We used to chat at 7 o'clock, video chat, and then I'd tell them what happened. And I don't know where it came from. Since I wrote it, I haven't reread it. And everybody who's read it said, oh, wow, where did you get your research? I'm like, what research? I said, that came off the top of my head, and I don't know where it came from. So I suppose my mind is like a sponge, and conversations of other people or experiences that people tell me, okay, as an aside, I have since discovered about 10 years ago that I'm an empath, and I'm sure, Paul, you know what that is. I finally came to terms that I'm an empath, and people are just drawn to me, and they tell me stuff, although I don't remember a lot of it, but then somehow when I'm writing, all that information sort of just comes out.
Whoa.
So this and the whipper, huh?
You're not the first one who said that. Other authors, some really prestigious authors, have claimed that an entity fed them information for them to write a book. And I wonder if that is what happened to you.
I don't know. All I know is I just sat at my laptop and started writing in 2.5 weeks, and like, I'm done.
Wow.
And
You say, Gloria, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
you said you haven't reread it. Did you do a rewrite, or
No.
at least spell check, grammar check, the process of writing, a lot of people rewrite things over and over again, or I've heard very few people, like they say Mozart never had a mistake on his page. He wrote it once and that was it. That's a very rare thing. But almost every other writer normally goes over and over and over things.
No, not me.
But you,
I'm
really?
clean up. I do not edit.
Do you have an editor that at least spell checks or grammar checks, or how do you format it? Is it like on the one and done? I mean, because that's pretty impressive.
Well, this one, the whippoorwill, I told you, like, this is dial-up, right? So my friend's mom was an English teacher, retired. And I said, or would you look at what I'm writing? So I would send her like a chapter or two, snail mail, mind you, and I would edit it for me, not just line edit, content edit, everything. And she would just like sometimes